right now. All right, let's see when we get back in here. Are we live? I can't tell. See, as people kind of stream in here, if you can see us, let us know. Say what's up. That way we know we are actually live. I think we're live. Yes.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh my goodness gracious! That just bounced back on my face. Okay, the no AirPods thing really sucks.
It's not the best.
No,
not ideal.
No, it's not. But you know what? You know what is ideal? The Giants being 4-1.
No, that's facts.
That is facts. Angry Bus Driver, what is good? Joseph, what's good, my man? Harvey Pro Gaming, what is good? You never respond to my Insta, dog. I don't know if I saw it. I will check after this and see what you said, but I might have missed it. We get a lot of messages over there. But Joseph, let's get a W today. Absolutely, my friend. This is a big one, my guys. I mean, ultimately, worst team in, I guess the worst. People say we're the worst 4-1 team in football. I mean, I don't really get that entire mentality. You beat the Green Bay Packers. They're the 4th in the power rankings. You put some competitive games together. We've won every game except for the Dallas one. And ultimately, I think their pass rush just got to us. I think that we could have won that game. There was a couple of moments, David Sills slips on that pass at the end and then turns it over. Daniel Jones has been very, very efficient with the football. I'm pretty confident today that we can pull out this win. Now, it's easier said than done. Lamar Jackson's tough, but we have our secret ingredient to combat him in Wink Martindale. But Anthony, when you're looking at this game, like, how do you really stop Lamar Jackson? I feel like you have to contain him in the pocket, force him to beat you with his arm. I feel like that's kind of where his weakness lies. He is not a pocket passer. Yes, he's a tremendous quarterback. But he overthrew a lot of passes last week in Cincinnati. He missed a lot of guys. Giants can't get beat downfield, but I feel pretty confident Xavier McKinney's got it locked down back there. Adoree Jackson is healthy. Leonard Williams is back. Wan'Dale Robinson. I really want to discuss those guys ahead of the game today. But what are your thoughts about Lamar? How do you stop him?
Well, I think the way that you stop him is you need some sort of deputy on him. You need to have a QB spy, right? So I'm thinking that Julian Love is probably going to play a lot in the box again this week. He's probably going to drop down from that safety position, get in the box, play that hybrid linebacker safety role, but play a lot of, and thank you, Harvey Pro Gaming. And he's probably going to play a lot of QB spies, just making sure that Lamar Jackson does not break the contain of the pocket and start making plays off script. Because it's not only Lamar Jackson having the ability to create yardage with his legs. Of course, he can do that. He can break the pocket and he can run for 75 yards on any given play. But it's also the fact that he breaks the pocket, breaks the contain, gets out into space, and then the whole defense starts to collapse, and he finds open receivers downfield because of that. Because you'll have members of the secondary or outside linebackers or whoever is in coverage, they will see him break the pocket, and they will start to shift with him to make sure that he doesn't run all over them. And that's when receivers start opening up or start running into opened up zones, because you've got cornerbacks just shifting a little bit to make sure that Lamar Jackson doesn't take the sideline and run. So that's really where he's dangerous. Is, yes, he might not be the best pure pocket passer. He is phenomenal passing from anywhere. Lamar Jackson has a cannon of an arm, and he is a very accurate quarterback, especially throwing downfield. But when he breaks the pocket, the defense starts to break down with him, and that's when you get open receivers running throughout the secondary. So that's the number one thing that the New York Giants need to maintain here, is his presence within that pocket. Make sure they have some good quarter or QB contain put out there from the edge rushers, and make sure that they have either a safety or a linebacker playing the QB spy on Lamar Jackson for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, the question is, who's going to be that QB spy? I think you discussed maybe Julian Love yesterday, Dane Belton, these guys that are kind of hovering around the line of scrimmage. Landon Collins is not playing this week. They're kind of, easing him in, making sure he's ready to go. It's not like Landon Collins is going to make a significant difference against Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's too shifty. He's too fast. You kind of need a safety to be on him. I really think this is the game where Kayvon Thibodeau comes to play. He's so fast, so athletic. I genuinely think that this is where he could make his biggest impact against a team like Baltimore, who loves to run the football. Lamar Jackson loves to roll out to his right side. A lot of RPOs. He's got to use that vision, got to use that IQ to really decipher what's going on. Those RPOs are killer, man. They have a very effective running game because of that. They average, I think, 27.3 or 8 points per game. The Giants are going to have to score a lot to win this one. Ultimately, the offense is capable of doing that. They scored 27 points against Green Bay this past weekend, but end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens are kind of a different beast. They have a very potent offense. Sometimes you can't catch up to them. We have to limit them. We have to force Lamar to turn the ball over, have to get him frustrated. Normally what I've been seeing since Lamar Jackson's on my fantasy team, generally, like, the way that they start the game is Lamar kind of doesn't open up that whole running aspect until the second half when they need it to. They want him to stay in the pocket. They want him to be throwing the football. They only really want to use his legs when they have no choice, because they don't want to have to, increase the probability of getting him injured. So I expect them to, run the football with J.K. Dobbins, be kind of efficient there, try to be efficient there. Getting Leonard Williams back plays a huge part in limiting that specifically. But at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson, they're going to try and throw the football with him early. They got Bateman, they got Devin Duvernay. They have some okay options, nothing crazy. I feel pretty confident about Dory Jackson against Rashad Bateman, and I guess Fabian Moreau against Duvernay. Duvernay is really fast. He's small, shifty, kind of a gadget, like kick return type of guy, but he's kind of made that transition to receiver this year full time, and he's done a pretty good job. They've connected a couple times in the end zone too. So, I think they try to get Lamar to throw the ball effectively. They see how that works. But the thing is, with the Giants defense, they put pressure on opposing quarterbacks instantaneously, right? They like to force quarterbacks to make premature decisions. Lamar Jackson making quick decisions, he can be inaccurate at times. I think that's ideal. You want to force him to make those throws early, because when he has to, flip that switch and just freaking toss it out of his hand quickly, sometimes he can be inaccurate. If you give him more time, the more time it is to beat you with his legs or with his arm. He's very dangerous when he has time in the pocket, time to run around. So they got to get to him quickly, push him up the middle. I think that if they can push him up the middle and have that spy like a Julian Love there waiting for him and just kind of swallow him up, in the middle of the field, they can get a couple of sacks. They can do a good job of limiting him. But what are your expectations for Leonard Williams in this game? I think the combo of Dexter Lawrence and Leonard is a huge one. I actually would go on paper saying that I think they're one of the best combos in the interior in the NFL. How do you think Leo gets right back in the mix here and impacts this game alongside Dexter?
Yeah, I think the impact that he's going to be making is more in the running game. I think you're going to feel his presence as a run defender more so than you feel that with Dexter Lawrence, because right now Dexter Lawrence is pass rushing out of his mind. He looks like a madman when he's chasing after the quarterback. He is crushing that facet of the game. And we know that Leonard Williams has the ability to do the same thing. He had 11 sacks in 2020, so we know that he has the ability to apply pressure to the quarterback. But I think that when you're looking at how the Giants defense has been playing in recent weeks, they have done a decent job containing most running backs, but it's been a lot of bend, don't break in the running game. I feel like a lot of running backs have been gaining an ample amount of yardage, and then the Giants defense is coming up clutch towards the end with good pass rushing from a guy like Dexter Lawrence. But right now, what they need to do is kind of stop the problem at its source, get better and be more formidable in run defense. I think that Leonard Williams is going to step in, make that instant impact. Hopefully J.K. Dobbins doesn't step in there and start running all over the place. I think that's really what you're going to see here is Leonard Williams is just going to slow down the rushing attack from the interior. And then, of course, I think it also matters that Lamar Jackson, we're talking about him trying to make sure that he doesn't break the contain. Well, one of the ways that you push a quarterback into a contain is by pass rushing formidably through the interior, because once the pressure gets to their face, they have to go backwards, then around, and then they run into the quarterback contain. So that is actually the strategy for defeating Lamar Jackson. You have to have good pass rushing from the interior, through the guards, through the centers. Once you pass rush through there, the quarterback has to drift backwards and then to the sides. And if you do have your edge rushers playing the contain, they will basically just be standing there waiting to make some cleanup sacks. So Kayvon Thibodeaux should be able to secure his first sack today as long as Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence are doing their job as pass rushers from the interior.
Yeah, and Aki, this is a good point here. Rashad Bateman is out, thankfully. So, that really leaves that Ravens receiver core really thin. I mean, Devin Duvernay is probably their number one. They don't really have that many guys to work with there. So, the Giants have a pretty good advantage in the secondary. They're going to have to run the ball effectively. Wink Martindale said earlier in the offseason, if you take away the run, you make an offense rather, one-dimensional. And I think that's what the Giants are going to try to do today. Take away the run, force Lamar to beat them with his arm. And I think they can do a good job. Wink Martindale knows how to stop Lamar Jackson. He knows what his weaknesses are. Guy practiced against him for years when he was with Baltimore. So I do feel pretty confident the Giants getting some healthy pieces back can make things happen. And Timothy says, will Leo, Aziz, and Tibbs get to Lamar? Aziz, I don't know if he's going to go. He's doubtful, which probably indicates he's not going to play. I think you probably have Jihad Ward personally manning that opposite side of Kayvon Thibodeaux. Ward has been tremendous as a run stopper this year. And I think that experience and that value alone makes him an essential piece of this defense. But looking at the offense, Anthony, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, obviously, Wan'Dale Robinson returning. This is a game where they're going to have to move the football. They're going to have to move the chains. They're going to have to run the ball effectively. Baltimore traditionally has a very stout defense. They've had a couple of issues this year, but I think Saquon Barkley, stopping him is difficult. This offensive line is pretty solid when it comes to run blocking. So I feel like there's a good chance Saquon has another 100 plus yards game. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson, while they probably will limit his snap count, I do kind of get the sense that he's going to be a big part of this offense moving forward. I've thought that since the beginning of the season when he was healthy. Now that all the receivers are down, I kind of get the same idea. It's really fun to see Wan'Dale Robinson kind of get involved as not only a gadget player, but also throwing the ball downfield on screen passes. So it should be exciting to see how they get him in the mix. And then Darius Slayton, man, this is a guy who had a really great game against the Green Bay Packers, 6 receptions for 79 yards. They're going to have to pull him across the line of scrimmage again. They're going to have to use those crossers to their advantage. Darius Slayton, when you saw what Jason Garrett did, they just ran it downfield. They just completely kept running the ball, rather they, sent him on go routes, and defenses know what's coming. But the Giants started to realize you can use Darius Slayton in other ways. His speed is a value. It's an asset. And they start to cross him over the middle of the field and drag everybody else to the opposite direction, clearing out that defensive side. And they saw a lot of success with that. And I think that, the play action, RPOs, like they're going to have to get creative. The red zone offense for the Giants has been one of the best in football, 13th after being ranked dead last 2 years almost. And then, it's a 58% completion rate, I think, or success rate in terms of touchdowns in the red zone. So, Anthony, how do you think Wan'Dale Robinson gets involved today? How many reps do you think he plays? I'd say about 50%, but I think when he's on the field, he's going to make an impact.
Yeah, I think he gets involved mainly through the screen game, being that kind of gadget player that we expected him to be. That is the best way to work him into the lineup, in my opinion. I don't really want him to go out there and run all these intricate routes. I don't think he's going to be running many posts or corners or anything like that. I think he's really just going to be running a lot of screens, a lot of drags, a lot of slants. But I think that's exactly what the Giants offense might be missing right now. Having those quick routes, those quick options for Daniel Jones, a receiver that can get open within the first second or two of a play on a slant or a drag. That's exactly what the New York Giants need, in my opinion. They need a receiver who can run underneath, catch the ball, turn upfield, and create some yardage after the catch. Because right now, unfortunately, the New York Giants offense is structured through having to rely on Saquon Barkley to pick up yards on the ground, or Daniel Jones to pick up yards on the ground, or Daniel Jones has to make an accurate pass downfield to gain any type of yardage. So I think it will be beneficial for him to just have some underneath receiving options, someone to dump the ball off to, someone to have a manufactured route for a screen or some sort of end around, anything like that, just to have one of those players, a shifty wide receiver who can break some tackles and create some yards after the catch or after some sort of end around handoff, anything like that. I think that is how he gets involved in this game. But I also think that he's going to be a key component of the red zone offense. And maybe it's through some of those creative plays. We, of course, saw that rushing touchdown by Daniel Bellinger last week. That was a very creative call by Mike Kafka there. But if you go ahead into this game and you kind of think, well, now that we have this extra component to the offense and Wan'Dale Robinson, you probably do see a little bit more creativity in the red zone. You try to see him get involved in a similar fashion. So I think that's kind of what I'm expecting to see from Wan'Dale Robinson today. I'm not expecting him to have some huge breakout game. He is still coming off of an injury. He was questionable going into this game, so he's probably still feeling the injury, at least to some extent. But going forward, I do think he's going to be a pretty important piece of this offense, and I think that he's exactly what Daniel Jones needs, an underneath receiving option with the ability to take the ball, run upfield, and create some additional yardage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's another guy that I have in mind that could be an impact player today, and that's Daniel Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger has been quietly very, very active for the Giants over the first 5 weeks of the season, not just as a pass, receiver, but also as a run blocker. He's been tremendous as a run blocker so far. And I think the Giants have relied on him, and Tanner Hudson, another guy who was kind of on the cusp of being out this week. He's going to be active, but I do feel pretty good about the Giants utilizing those tight ends. Of course, stopping Mark Andrews is a whole nother beast with the Ravens. And I wonder how they do that, Anthony. Mark Andrews is a guy who can take over a game, 100 plus yards, multiple touchdowns at any given moment. Who do you think they use to man up against him today? Do you think they use Xavier McKinney? Do you think they use a corner? Like, how do they manage Mark Andrews? The Giants love to play man coverage, so they have to be careful downfield because they need that defensive. They need someone in the backfield, but maybe Dane Belton gets the task of manning up against him a little bit slower. Dane Belton's physical. Who do you think they utilize there to try and mitigate him?
In my opinion, it is Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney is the best coverage man on the New York Giants defense, and Mark Andrews is the best receiving man in the Baltimore Ravens offense. So, yes, I think that Xavier McKinney has to be tasked with the challenge of covering Mark Andrews throughout the entirety of this game. Mark Andrews is a player that could totally make or break a game against the Giants, because the Giants, if they do not key in on Mark Andrews and slow him down, Lamar Jackson has the ability to toss him 3 to 4 touchdowns in a game. Like, seriously, Mark Andrews is that talented of a tight end. He is arguably the best tight end in football right now. He's definitely in the conversation to be in the top 3 or 5 in the NFL. So when you're looking at Mark Andrews, it is of the utmost importance that the Giants slow him down. And I think since he is their best weapon, you have to put your best defensive weapon matched up against him. That is Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney is phenomenal in man coverage. He's great at covering not only slot receivers, but yes, tight ends as well. So if there's anyone that I want shutting down Mark Andrews in this game, it's Xavier McKinney.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's no Rashad Bateman today, no Landon Collins today either. So that's obviously a good thing for the Giants that Bateman is out. Obviously you want everyone to be healthy, but gives them a slight advantage in the secondary. So that means Devin Duvernay goes up against Adoree Jackson, which I think is a good scenario. Is there a world where the Giants match up Adoree Jackson on Rashad Bateman, or rather, on Mark Andrews? Probably not. I don't think Adoree Jackson has the size to kind of, battle him in those 50-50 balls, or just those passes that are a little bit high. Lamar Jackson knows where to put it for him. But Mark Andrews dominates the seams, right? That's where he makes his money. He is so good on those seam routes. He's so good up the middle of the field. They scheme him open. They do a really good job of scheming him open. So, like you said, Xavier McKinney is the guy that you want to see stepping up, making plays. But that running game, man, I mean, that's where the Ravens really set the tone. The RPOs, the play action, the running game. J.K. Dobbins looks pretty good so far. Lamar, obviously, he'll rip off a couple of runs for 20, 30 yards and, kind of put you on the back foot. But the Giants need to play aggressive football. And in the red zone, they need to play bend, don't break football. Because I think, it's really easy for this Ravens offense, because they're so creative, because they're so good on the ground, to score touchdowns. They're very efficient scoring touchdowns. But Lamar Jackson, you can make him make mistakes. Like, he is turnover prone at times. If you get him on a bad day, you can get him to turn the ball over. And I think the Giants, they know how to attack him. They're going to send the house. They're going to make him uncomfortable. Jackson even said earlier this week that you just don't know what's coming when it comes to Wink Martindale. He was discussing what, playing against him in practice was like. And he was like, you just don't know what's coming. He sends very unique blitzes, very exotic blitzes. And ultimately, the Giants are going to keep him on his toes. They're going to keep sending pressure. He's not going to know where it's coming from. He's going to have to get the ball out quickly, snap decisions. He'll float a couple of those passes. That's the Giants really hoping for that. Get the ball out of his hands very quickly, prematurely, force him to float a couple of those passes. And I think that they can take advantage and maybe secure a dub here. And look, if the Giants win today, the whole mentality that the Giants are the worst 5-1, 4, whatever 5-1 team in football is absolute nonsense. If they win this game, now we're talking about the Giants making the playoffs. Now we're talking about the next string of games. You're looking at the Jaguars, Texans, Seahawks, all winnable games, all far worse teams, and the Lions too. They have to play all far worse than Green Bay or the Baltimore Ravens. So I think the Giants do have a good opportunity, if they win this game, to really put themselves in the conversation as one of the better teams in the league. And not because of how much talent they have, but because how disciplined they are and how great everyone is playing because of the fantastic coaching. And, we're seeing that we actually had talent on this roster the whole time. Our coaches just didn't know how to get it out of them ultimately. But Anthony, what is your score prediction for today, guys? Leave your score prediction below before we sign off here and head over to the game. And, I'll be live tweeting as always, but I'll let you get the first crack at predicting.
I'll go 27-24. New York Giants improve to 5-1. I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I think you're going to see a big game out of Saquon Barkley once again. And, of course, the key to winning this game is slowing down Lamar Jackson. However, I did say 27-24. I think that Graham Gano plays a big part in this game. I think it actually could come down to the kickers. Justin Tucker, arguably the greatest kicker of all time, versus Graham Gano, arguably the greatest kicker in New York Giants history. I don't know. That's probably a stretch, but he is a really good kicker, and he does play for the Giants. And I'm very excited to see him and Tucker go at it, and hopefully the New York Giants pull off a big win here, improve to 5-1, and get some steam rolling. They've got a couple more weeks until their bye. I think that this is the perfect time to really just establish themselves, say, yes, we are a legitimate contender right now. This win would be huge for the Giants over the Baltimore Ravens, who have been a formidable playoff contender for years now. So I think this is a big game for the Giants, and I do believe that they're going to come out on top.
I hope so. I'm going to go with the reverse jinx here and say Ravens 28, Giants 21. This isn't purely because I'm trying to reverse jinx the Baltimore Ravens, knock on wood. Any superstition, man. I mean, where's Tibosaurus Rex at? We need this guy to make a last-second appearance because do you have him on hand, Anthony, or no?
I do not. Oh, wait,
You don't
hold
have.
on. Yes, I do. Here he is. This is our boy right here. The GOAT,
Good
the
luck
golden
charm.
child.
Yep. 4-1. We didn't know. We didn't know he was going to be such a good luck charm for us, but Tibosaurus Rex has come through time and time again. Hopefully he can help us out again. hopefully. But guys, hopefully you enjoy the game. Make sure to like, subscribe as always. We'll be doing the pregame streams most weeks, if not every weekend. And let's get this dub. We'll catch you guys in the post game stream. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys later.